How can a brother bullets to the head? Let me handle
GC now, we marks out. Anybody?
Snaps and pops into
He's gonna do something crazy, Kanan.
No, man.
Kanan just like anybody who ever bet against
See that you're dedicated.
No man handle it.
Kanan just like the game. The more you lose. But the streets ain't ours no more. We mark.
She's gonna do something crazy, Kanan.
The further away that shit gonna get.
The word penultimate might sound fancy, but it has one simple meaning. It means second to last. And when a show like Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, puts that word right in the title of an episode, it is not just a random choice. It is a warning. It is telling every fan watching that the real ending is about to start. Episode 7 of this final season is called Penultimate Means Second to Last, and after everything this family has been through, that title alone should make your stomach drop a little. Because if this is the second to last chapter of the story, then there is no more room left for slow buildup. Every secret, every betrayal, every broken bond between Kanan and his mother has to start crashing together right now. This is the episode where the show cannot hide behind setup anymore. The countdown to the end of Kanan Stark's story as a teenager has officially begun, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this next episode could be the most important hour the show has ever made. For years now, fans of the Power universe have watched a scared but smart teenage boy slowly turn into someone dangerous. We already know where Kanan ends up. In the original Power show, he becomes a cold and ruthless man, someone who is capable of killing without blinking, someone who even ends up killing his own cousin Jukebox. That is not a secret. That is where this story is headed. But the entire reason Raising Kanan exists is to show us how a boy gets there. Season 5 is the final season, and the person who created this show, Sascha Penn, has already said something huge. He has promised that this season will finally and completely explain how Kanan becomes capable of killing Jukebox. Think about that for a second. That is not a small promise. That is the entire emotional core of the show being answered in these last episodes. So when episode 7 lands with a title that literally means second to last, it tells us this is where that explanation has to start taking shape. Right now, going into this episode, the family's by peace. Kanan is no longer the boy trying to survive his mother's world. He has an alliance with a dangerous new figure named Breeze, and together they have already been making violent moves that put them at war with Rock, unless it wants the audience to feel the weight of it before a single scene even plays. It is basically Starz telling every viewer to brace themselves, because the pieces that have been moving quietly all season are about to slam into each other. Rock's fight to stay relevant, Kanan's growing coldness, Breeze's hunger for control, and Jukebox's dangerous secret with Garcia are all storylines that cannot keep running in separate lanes much longer. Episode 7 is the moment those lanes are expected to merge into something much bigger and much more dangerous. And once you understand just how much history and tension is packed into this 1 hour, it becomes clear why fans across the entire Power universe are treating this episode like a turning point, rather than just another chapter in the season. Let us look closer at where things stood right before this episode, because it explains a lot about what could be coming. In the episode before this one, called Dark Matter, Kanan and Tiana's relationship took a real turn. For a long time, Tiana has been someone close to Kanan, someone who trusted him even as he got pulled deeper into the streets. But that episode showed cracks forming, the kind of cracks that usually mean something bad is coming. When a show spends this much time building trust between two characters only to break it right before the final stretch, it is rarely by accident. It is usually there to set up pain later. So going into episode 7, Kanan is not just dealing with enemies on the street. He is also dealing with someone close to him starting to see who he really is underneath the surface, and that kind of realization is hard to walk back once it begins. At the same time, Detective Garcia made a bold move to get Jukebox the answers she has been chasing. This is important because Jukebox has always been the character trying to hold on to some form of morality in a family that keeps sinking deeper into violence. She has tried to protect the people she loves while also trying to stay on the right side of the line. But Garcia pushing for answers means Jukebox is being forced into a corner. She cannot keep playing both sides forever. If Garcia gets what she wants, it could expose secrets that put the entire family at risk. If Jukebox refuses to give answers, it could put her own safety in danger instead. Either way, this storyline is heading toward a moment where Jukebox has to choose a side, and that choice could shape everything that happens to her later. especially knowing where her story eventually leads in the original Power timeline. Then there is Breeze, whose presence has completely changed the balance of power. Since joining forces with Kanan, Breeze has pushed him further into violence than he has ever gone before. Breeze does not hesitate. He does not think twice before making brutal decisions, and Kanan being close to someone like that means Kanan is absorbing that same mindset. Every episode this season has shown Kanan drifting further from the boy he used to be and closer to the man we already know he becomes. Episode 7, sitting right before the finale, is the perfect moment for that shift to become impossible to ignore. If the show is going to fully explain how Kanan turns into someone capable of killing his own family member later in life, this is close to the point where that transformation needs to be shown clearly, not hinted at anymore. Put all of this together, and you can see why the fractures going into this episode feel so dangerous. Tiana is starting to pull away. Garcia is closing in on Jukebox. Breeze is pulling Kanan further into darkness. None of these threads are separate anymore. They are all connected to the same countdown, and episode 7 is where that pressure is expected to reach a breaking point that the show cannot walk back from. Now, let us turn to Raquel, because her situation might be the most interesting piece of this entire puzzle. For most of this season, Raquel has been fighting to stay standing after nearly losing everything, including her own life. Her son turned against her. Her power on the streets has been challenged from every direction, and instead of backing down, she has been quietly building something new. She has been forming fresh alliances, working with people like Flossie and a new group of women to move product through Manhattan, trying to create a lane that does not depend on the family structure that has already betrayed her once. This is very telling about who Raquel is as a person. She does not sit still when she is knocked down. She adapts. She finds new paths. But building something new while your own son is actively working against you is an incredibly fragile position to be in, and episode 7, with a title like Penultimate Means Second to Last, feels like the moment where that fragile balance gets tested in a real way. Here's the bigger question we're thinking about. Does Raquel manage to hold on to some form of power going into the finale, or does this episode start the process of taking everything away from her for good? Given how the show has been building things, there are really only two directions this can go. Either Raquel finds a way to protect what she has built and walks into the finale still standing, still dangerous, still a force to be reckoned with. Or this episode becomes the beginning of her downfall, the moment where her new alliances are not enough to stop what is coming, and the war with her own son finally catches up to her in a way she cannot escape. Knowing how these kinds of final seasons usually work, and knowing that the show has already promised a full explanation of how Kanan becomes the man we see later in his life, there is a real possibility that Raquel's story starts closing here, setting the stage for whatever final confrontation is waiting in the last episode. It is also worth remembering that Raquel was almost completely left out of the season's early promotional material after what looked like her death at the end of last season. That alone tells you the show has been protecting something about her story, keeping her arc close to the chest instead of spoiling it early. If they were willing to hide her that much before the season even started, it strongly suggests her fate is one of the biggest reveals still waiting to happen. And episode 7, sitting right before the finale, is exactly the kind of episode where a show finally stops hiding those cards and starts laying them on the table for the audience to see.